The great Japanese director Yasujiro Ozu described his classic Tokyo Story as his most melodramatic film. And I think it might be fair to describe Like Father, Like Son as Hirokazu Kore-eda's most melodramatic film. Most of Kore-eda's films are, in one way or another, about families under stress. But this is a film about families under extreme stress because of a sudden, unexpected revelation. So the basic premise here is that two boys have been swapped at birth in the hospital where they were born. So we have two sets of parents. We have the Nonomiyas, Ryota and Midori, and we have the Psyches, Yudai and Yukari, and they're each raising a son who is not, in fact, their biological child. The truth comes out when the Nonomiya's assumed son, Keita, is applying for elementary school. And in the process he takes a blood test which shows that he's not in fact related to the man and woman who've raised him. So the Nonomiyas are put in touch with the Psyches who have raised the boy they took home from the hospital, Ryusei, alongside their two biological children. And the film pivots around this central dilemma. Should they or should they not exchange the children that they've been raising? Like his earlier Nobody Knows, this is a film that is loosely based on a news story. Kore-eda had been inspired by the fact that a number of real cases like this had happened in the 1960s and 70s. And he was also shocked by the fact that in the 60s and 70s, almost all the parents who learnt that their children had been swapped actually decided to exchange. Around the time that the film was released, this kind of story was back in the news. In late 2013, so more or less exactly when the film is released in Japan, the international press reported on a Japanese man who had belatedly discovered that he had been accidentally swapped with another baby born 13 minutes later in the same hospital. That had happened 60 years before. His biological parents were a wealthy couple, so the child that they took home had an elite education and eventually became the chairman of a real estate firm. Their biological child grew up in poverty and he worked in menial jobs. So 60 years later, that news comes out and that man discovers that he has had a completely different life from the life he otherwise could have expected. Kore-eda's film also focuses on a situation where the revelation that the wrong baby was taken home by the wrong couple has been delayed. It's only 6 years in this case, but that of course is enough that the parents, each set of parents, has had time to bond with and raise the wrong child. Also, as in that story, we have a situation where the babies have been swapped across the class divide. The Nonomiyas are an upper middle class family. Ryota is a junior executive in a corporate milieu. Yudai is lower middle class. He runs a small business. He runs an electrical goods shop. So we have different careers, we have different social classes, and those bring with them different attitudes to what it means to be a parent. Ryota is ambitious for his son. He's focused on work rather than play. He wants Keita to excel at school. He sends him to what the Japanese call a juku, which is a cram school. He makes him take piano lessons. And he's constantly frustrated by the fact that Keita doesn't display any kind of drive or comparable ambition. In the Nonomiya's house, play is something that is rationed. Keita is limited, for instance, to 30 minutes a day playing computer games. Ryota does occasionally play computer games with his son, but it's significant, I think, that he's not very good at them. By contrast, in the Psyche household, we see a family where play is at the heart of things. For instance, Ryusei bathes together with his family, whereas Keita is required to bathe alone. And Yudai himself, the father, is a rather playful character. He certainly doesn't have drive or ambition. His work is done in a rather laid-back kind of way. And his ambitions, in fact, seem to be pipe dreams. He says that by the time he's 50, he wants to open a surf shop. But his wife laughs at this because he's never actually been surfing. So, when Ryota learns that Keita is not, in fact, his biological son, his immediate response is, now it all makes sense. The boy's lack of dedication, he assumes, is something that has been inherited from his biological parents. And so the central question that this film asks is precisely the question of nature versus nurture. The English title makes that clear. Like father, like son suggests proverbially that you automatically inherit your father's personality, values, outlook, behaviour. But that's complicated here, of course, when we have to ask, who is the father? Is the father the man who raises you? Or is your father the man who, in fact, fathered you? The film offers various perspectives on this question, expressed in different ways by different characters. Ryota has a father who's kind of the ultimate spokesman for the idea that character is biologically inherited. He says it's all about blood. He actually says this is true of humans as well as horses. So very much a biological attitude. Yudai, however, challenges that kind of idea. He points out that he originally gave Keita the name Ryusei because the child was named before the swap took place. Now, however, he says 6 years have passed and Ryota has made the boy he raised into a Keita. Later on, Yudai also tells Ryota, you don't have to be like your father. And indeed, Ryota himself was raised partly by a woman who wasn't his biological mother. He has a stepmother, we see her in the film, and she tells him that she had come to love her stepsons, not because she bore them, but because she raised them. She says, if you live together, you don't have to be related. You start to love each other, you look like each other. And elsewhere, when Ryota becomes angry because Keita doesn't perform very well in a piano recital, Keita's defended by Midori, who says, Keita takes after me in not being able to work hard. By this stage, she knows that Keita's not, in fact, her biological son. So it seems to be that she's implying that he takes after her because she's raised him that way. I should mention that the film actually has a second title. Of course, it's a Japanese film. It has its original title in Japanese. And its original title in Japanese is Soshite Chichi ni naru. And that title doesn't actually mean the same thing as the title under which we know the film in English-speaking countries. That's true, by the way, of the other films in this box set. Kiseki is called I Wish in English, but in Japanese it means miracle. The literal translation of Umi yori mo mada fukaku is even deeper than the sea, not after the storm. In the case of this film, I think it's particularly worth dwelling on those two different titles, because the English title, Like Father, Like Son, puts the emphasis on that question of nature versus nurture. But the Japanese title, Soshite chichi ni naru, places much more emphasis on the process of becoming a father. That's what chichi ni naru means. So the emphasis there is on Ryota's moral progress as he learns what it means to be a father. And Kore-eda himself actually has related that to his own experience. The film played in Cannes. It was nominated for the Palme d'Or. It won the jury prize. Kore-eda commented, "This theme is close to my heart. I no longer have my father and mother, he says. I became a father myself, and so my position in society has changed. I was a son, and then I became a father, and that's what interests me. It's quite natural for me to work with this topic, and I haven't finished studying it. And I think it's probably fair to say that this is the first of Kore-eda's films in which we as an audience are asked, above all, to be interested in a parent. That seems like a big change from earlier films like Nobody Knows. Nobody Knows is still a family film. It's still a film about parents and children. But the mother disappears very early on from the film, and we have to focus on the children who are left at home to fend for themselves. So we focus above all on the oldest son, Akira. The parent, by contrast, is an absent figure. And that focus on children keeps going for some years. When Kore-eda made a period film, a kind of samurai film called Hana, or Hana Yori Monaho in Japanese, our identification figure was again a son, and this is a son who doesn't want to do his filial duty. He is obliged to avenge his father, but he doesn't want to go through with it. In Still Walking, we see a tense relationship between father and son, and we're very much asked to look at that relationship through the eyes of the younger man. As recently as 2011, when Kore-eda made I Wish, he focuses on the children. He looks at two brothers who are separated from each other because their parents have separated, and the audience follows them as they try to engineer a reunion. So in all those films, and whether the sons are children or adults, we focus primarily on them. Now, in Like Father, Like Son, we're still looking at children. There's still a question about how children should be raised, but the audience sees this above all through the eyes of the father, Ryota, as his assumptions about being a father are called into question. Perhaps we don't sympathise with him. I don't actually think he's a very nice man. And yet, he definitely provides our main access to the drama. And that's something that's gone on in Kore-eda's more recent films. In After the Storm, again, a father is the main character. Kore-eda was interviewed again at the American Film Institute about Like Father, Like Son, and he said he didn't intend to take sides between the two families. He didn't want to make a judgment about which style of parenting was to be preferred. And again, he relates that to his own experience. He comments that he was brought up in a family which was perhaps more similar to the Psyche family. And then he acknowledges that, well, now I'm privileged enough to have a lifestyle similar to the lifestyle Ryota leads. It was actually the actor who played Ryota, Masaharu Fukuyama, who initiated the project of Like Father, Like Son. He'd asked Kore-eda if they could work together. But when he too was interviewed at Cannes, he admitted that he had doubts about his ability to play the role, and he said this was because he didn't at that time have children. He wasn't a father. And Kore-eda reassured him, saying, well, the film is about how to become a father. Again, chichi ni naru. So Fukuyama comments, I learned about starting out as not being a father and becoming one by playing this role. Indeed, since making the film, he has married and he became a father himself for the first time at the unusually advanced age of 47. Having brought Kore-eda's star into this commentary, maybe it's time to say something about the casting. Masaharu Fukuyama, who plays Ryota, is something of a celebrity. And he's not only a celebrity in film, he's an established singer-songwriter. He's been pursuing a musical career in Japan for more than 25 years. And he's also a regular star in television drama, and he has a number of other film roles to his credit. This was his first collaboration with Kore-eda, but he appears again in The Third Murder, which screened in competition at Venice in 2017. Lily Frankie, who plays the other father, Yudai, is also a figure who is known in walks of life beyond that of being a film actor. As critic Mark Schilling writes, he's a true multi-talent, having found success as an illustrator, designer, essayist, lyricist, photographer, novelist, and band vocalist. All those things. So he had a lot of careers before he began to play roles in films, which really he's only done consistently since about 2007. And again, he's gone on to work with Kore-eda subsequently. You can see him on this box set in After the Storm. You can also see him in Our Little Sister. The two female leads, Yoko Maki as Yukari and Machiko Ono as Midori, are both established film actresses. Maki again also turns up in After the Storm. Ono was discovered by the Nara-based independent filmmaker Naomi Kawase, and Kawase gave her a role in Suzaku in 1997 when Ono was still only a schoolgirl. Of the four leads, she's the only one who to date hasn't appeared in any other films by Kore-eda. On the other hand, Kirin Kiki, whose career goes back to the 1960s and who here plays the small role of Midori's mother, is a Kore-eda regular. You can see her in the other films in this box set, as well as in Still Walking and in Our Little Sister. Arguably, she is the closest thing that Kore-eda has to a kind of fetish actress, in the way that Chishu Ryu was a kind of recurrent presence in Yasujiro Ozu's films. Certainly, Kore-eda owes a great deal to the excellence of his actors in this film as elsewhere. They helped create a film in which all sides carry weight, in which, while some of the characters seem more sympathetic than others, they're all plausible people who are facing a difficult problem and learning from the experience. I mentioned before that the Japanese title of Kore-eda's film refers to the process of becoming a father. But my fellow critic Tony Raines once commented to me that, in fact, this film is really about the process of Ryota becoming a human being. And in that, as well as being perhaps Kore-eda's most melodramatic film, I think you could also say it's one of his most therapeutic.